is on a walk, and when he comes back, she'll sort it out with him, but she'll pay. So, law enforcement guy is like, sounds good to me. Oops, I forgot to put my Facebook one up. Sounds good to me. So he is out of there. He is no longer there, and he is ready to head back the hour drive back to civilization. So that leaves us there, and I am like, what on earth happened this evening? And I tell our shelter manager, I'm like this is so horrible. Like, we're supposed to be the ones helping law enforcement with their animal problems, not law enforcement coming to our facility because our staff are behaving badly. And oh, she knows. And anyways, we waited there for a very long time, and finally the stable hand came back, and we're like, this can never happen again, and we're going to talk about it later, and all these things. So, the next morning, the shelter manager says that she's going to pay for the windshield to be replaced, and the volunteer takes her vehicle down, truck down, gets the windshield replaced. Shelter manager has her sign a paper that says that she agrees that she has the windshield's been fixed, and if anything, that, like, basically that they're good. Like, there's nothing that's on the vehicle now or could be on the vehicle in the future that she's going to come back and want more money for. So, signed that agreement, moved on, and then I get a call. Now, keep in mind that the shelter manager did tell me that every time I go to the shelter, I'm ruining a smooth running operation. And this is Horse Plus. This is the organization I founded and helped, grow with Jason and the help of God and all our volunteers and whatnot. So, I am just so frustrated by what happened with this stable hand, and I'm just trying to think, what can we do to try and, prevent this stuff from happening. Well, then I get a call from the volunteer, and she said she was talking to her husband. Now, remember, he's disabled, and he was friends with the stable hand. He became friends with the stable hand. And the volunteer said that talking to her husband, that the stable hand might have drugs being shipped in the mail to Horse Plus for his own use. And I am like, what on earth? Are you serious? This is beyond crazy. I'm just checking YouTube to make sure we're still rolling. Okay. Hold on. Go back. It looks like YouTube might be having an issue. Go ahead and comment if you are watching on YouTube. Let me know that you're still able to see everything good and everything's rolling along. Because if it died, I'll be very, very unhappy. Okay, but of course I got to remember that, I'm using internet off my phone for this. And says an error has occurred. Tell me, like, if you're able to see what I'm talking, give me some thumbs up and stuff. Okay, looks like we're good. For some reason it glitched there. So the truck got the windshield smashed in, and if you're just joining, you're in a wild story that I'm telling from a while ago that I said I would tell if we hit $10,000, which we have. So, the truck gets fixed, and then the volunteer calls me, and she said she was talking to her husband. She thinks drugs are being shipped in the mail to Horse Plus, for this stable hand guy. And I'm like, what on earth? So then I go to the postmaster, Jason and I, and We're like, okay, so there may be drugs being shipped in the mail. And she's like, well, there's nothing we can do unless we smell it or it looks suspicious. So, I'm like, okay, well, that was kind of a dead end. But drugs being shipped in the mail to Horse Plus is nothing we want to have happen. So then, the next day, the volunteer calls me again. Oh, we just got a $2 donation. Thank you so much on YouTube. Add that into the donation count. Our next update is in 8 minutes. So, she calls me and proceeds to tell me, and this is where the story is just going to get so beyond wild and feel like an idiot that I didn't get his last name and I didn't research him, but like I said, I've learned a lot through this story. And so when so she calls up and she says, she's been talking to her husband some more, and she says that the stable hand is a fugitive felon on the run from another state and gave me his last name, and that's when I Googled his name. And there was mugshot after mugshot after mugshot of him. There was so many arrest records that I was just baffled by it all. There was armed robbery, breaking and entering, tons of drug charges, and like there was a newspaper article where he broke into somebody's house and like there was a lady there and like he had a weapon. Like this is like beyond anything that I ever wanted to deal with in my entire life. And I am like, what on earth are we going to do? And so then we search his name from the state that all these arrests were from, and come to find out he is on their like fugitive list, I guess. Like he's not where he should be. And so Jason calls up that phone number for like the probation officer or something, and they said that he was on the run and they did want him. And we're like, okay, so what do we do? Like, are you gonna come get him? Like, what? Oh, we got $10 donation from YouTube. Thank you so much. So they say what we need to do is call our local sheriff department and they will take care of it. We're like, okay, good. We know what to do. We're going to call the sheriff department and they will explain what's happening. So Jason calls the sheriff department, and the sheriff department person who answers is like, okay, takes down all the information, and just reading a comment there. So takes down all the information, and we're waiting to hear what this officer is going to tell us about what's going to happen, what procedure. So give him the information, and he's like, thank you very much, click. And we're like, are they going to come get him? Like, what's happening? So then I'm like, okay, so we reported to the sheriff department. They said thank you very much, and they're no longer on the phone. And so basically I'm like, Jason, we're going to have to go through and lock everything up that we possibly can, because this guy's a big thief. Like, he is convicted all over the internet of stealing things, and he's got tons of mugshots all over the internet. And so we went and bought a bunch of locks, and we were trying to go through and lock everything up. And at this point, we haven't told the shelter manager what we know, because we're afraid if we do, she's going to tell him and he's going to run. And if he does run, is he just going to be lurking around the shelter? What all is going to happen here? So we Oh, this gets so complicated, y'all. Like this is such a rough story. So we're trying to get everything locked up, and the shelter manager is out with our farrier. We had a barefoot trimmer, really nice lady. So the horses are getting their farrier work done, and we're going through the office, and we're trying to lock up everything that we possibly can lock up that we think this stable hand might try to get access to. Did we call the feds? No, because the place that said he was on the run said to call the sheriff department, and we did, and they hung up after taking our information. So, then we're trying to figure out what to do next, and they the stable hand, as we're locking things up, he goes out of the house and gets on the four wheeler, like small vehicle with four wheels, four wheeler. He gets on the four wheeler and he drives past the office and back around to the back, which is normal because he would feed the animals and stuff. So it was like, okay, this is what he's doing. He's out there feeding the animals. We're locking up everything in here that we can possibly think of. The shelter manager is helping the farrier, and we were there for probably another 10 minutes or so, and we're changing the locks on the back door. And I look up and I see a police officer with a canine walking back to kind of where the horses are. And I'm like, oh, they're here. So I head back to where the horses are, and I saw the officer go. And I said, hey, just, if you need anything, let us know. We own the place. And the officer said, okay, we're trying to get a felon or a fugitive, and he went into the lower pasture. We're bringing the dog in to see if he can find him, and the helicopter will be here in 15 minutes. And I'm like, okay. And then the farrier, the poor farrier, is like, helicopter, I think I'm going to leave now. So the farrier left. Don't blame her a bit. Helicopters and farrier work should never be on the same day at the same location. So one person on YouTube is wondering if this happened in Tennessee. No, this happened in Northern California, and it was like an hour away from law enforcement when they came. We could drive up there. It'd take about an hour for them to come. So, I'm like, the helicopter's coming, and there's another horse past the window. It's going on a ride. So the shelter manager comes to me, and she's like, I have no idea what's going on. This doesn't make any sense. They said something about the stable hand being on probation. She's like, I have no clue what's going on. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm sure they'll figure it out. And at this point, I'm not saying anything that I know what's happening with the helicopter, with all this stuff, or that we made the report. And so the farrier's leaving, and the shelter manager is very much on edge. And over the mountain, here comes the helicopter. And I hate to do this to you all, but the countdown timer just stopped. So we're going to update the thermometer again, keep those donations coming in. Oh, we just got $5 more through YouTube. And we will finish this story. So I'm right at when the helicopter comes up over the mountain. Everyone's like, no, I'm sorry. But like, if we don't keep updating this and staying on schedule, we have to stay on schedule. So this won't take long. It's a great time for you to send in your donation if you haven't sent it in yet. And then we'll get to the police helicopter flying up over the shelter. I'm just going through and refreshing everything, updating it all. We'll have a new exciting number to put up. We are getting very, very close to a new number. Okay, I think I am updated. Are you ready for the new number? I'm going to put it in. All right, so we are still at 11,000, but now we're at $699.55. We're getting very, very close to hitting $12,000, which is very exciting. Okay, so let me get back to my story. Looks like everything is rolling. Okay. And here Okay, yeah, so somebody was watching on YouTube, and they stepped away when he went for a walk. So things have progressed rapidly since he went for a walk. He's done a lot of crazy things. So, now, before we get into the helicopter, we have to remember the volunteer lives up the road. She has her truck. She's fixed it now. And she is like a mile up the road or so. And then we're at the shelter, and there is 4 officers on the ground, because when I saw the one officer with the canine, he went back to his vehicle to get the dog and bring it down to where the stable hand was last seen, so he could try to find him with the dog. But there were still officers down in the lower part of the horse pasture, and they are trying to find him. So that's when the farrier was there trimming, and they're like, the helicopter's coming, and she's like, I'm out of here. Somebody says, does he go up the road and steal her truck? Well, yeah, I have to wait and see. Okay, so the helicopter comes buzzing up, and I don't know if you've ever seen a helicopter searching for a criminal, but they're buzzing pretty low, and there is dust flying everywhere, and the horses are running around. Thankfully, I was really worried that horses were gonna like run through the fence or something, but they seem to handle it pretty well. And so there's 2 people in the front of the helicopter, and then they've got like officers looking out the sides of the helicopter, like doors are open, and they're just buzzing the whole shelter and trying to find this fugitive. So I am watching this all very wide-eyed, being like, wow, what on earth is happening? And were they sharpshooters? I don't think so. But I mean, they probably had guns up there. And so as the helicopter is buzzing around, the shelter manager comes to me, and she's starting to like get very not in a good place mentally. And she is like, oh no, he must be so scared out there, and like she's really worried about him being the stable hand being scared out there with the helicopter buzzing around and stuff. I'm like, scared? Why isn't he turning himself in? I didn't tell that to her, but I'm like, I'm sure everything will be fine. And anyway, she went to go call another volunteer because she said I was not supporting her in this situation. And I really didn't feel like I was in any position where I could really talk to her about what's happening, because, you know, we were the ones that called in and made the report, and now the police are here, and there's helicopter buzzing around. And so she headed off, and finally, after a good long while of the helicopter searching everything they could over Horse Plus, the helicopter leaves, and I think there was like 4 or 5 officers on the ground. They came up, and they told us terrible news. They said that they were trying to use our 4-wheeler. So apparently the stable hand guy saw the police, and that's when he took off on the 4-wheeler. He drove it down to the lower horse pasture. It was like a 50-acre facility. And then he got off and he ran. And then the officers decided to use our four-wheeler to help to look for him. But then one of the officers lost the key to our four-wheeler out somewhere on the 50 acres. We never found that key again. So we're like, okay, so he's out there somewhere. And they're like, yes. And they're like, can you check his room for drugs? Or, you know, anything. Like, you know, you have your dog here and he's supposed to be drug trained. Can you go see if there is anything going on in his room? And they're like, yeah. So we start heading over to the house. I'm not sure where the shelter manager is at this point. We get almost over to the house, and they get another call in on their radios, and they're like, you know, I am so sorry. We're going to have to leave. And we can't search the house with the dog, but you can search the house. Now I'm telling you, Northern California, there are strange things that happen. And they're like, you can just go up and let us know if you find anything. We're like, okay, we can do that. So, and they're like, and if he comes back and you help him in any way, you're going to be in trouble because you'll be aiding and abetting a felon, and then you'll end up in jail. We're not going to help him. Like, we're not going to do anything like that. We will let you know if you know anything that we can do to get him out of here. We'll be more than happy to let you know. And the whole time I'm thinking, man, like, this animal control officer is our shelter manager. She brought this person here, and now he's like a huge problem. And so about this time, so the officers leave, and then this other volunteer comes that the shelter manager called. And so in Northern California, like I always carried a gun on me. I had a concealed carry permit. And I started carrying because we actually got a death threats after assisting animal control with another case, another animal control agency, which I'll go into that in another story. But we're on this story right now. So I carried concealed weapon on me for protection, and you know, if anything was to happen, I had it there. So as soon as the volunteer gets out of her car, the shelter manager runs up and says that I am going to shoot the stable hand. And it's like, she's going to shoot him. And I'm like, I go to the volunteer. I'm like, I am not going to go hunt anyone down and shoot them. If I am being attacked, that is one thing, but I am not going to go hunt anyone down. And she's like, I know. So this lovely volunteer took the shelter manager to go just away from the shelter. She said she was going to take her to a lake or something where she can just relax and not be at the shelter so we could get some things taken care of. So she takes her away, and now we are here wondering what on earth our next steps are, because we have this felon who has a very long criminal record out there somewhere. The police can't find him, and now they told us to check his room, and that he cannot come back, and if we help him at all, like, we'll all be in jail. And it is just a very difficult, crazy situation to be in. And whoop, okay, come on, come back. Okay, my thing just jumped around. So we are all just, you know, very confused about the next steps that we're supposed to be doing in this situation, and what if he does come back and he's going to be really mad now. And so we're like, okay, the police said to let us know if we find anything in his room. So we head up to his room, and the police told us to search, you know, let us know if we find anything. So, and boy, we did. So we go up to his room, and we find all kinds of drug paraphernalia. We find meth pipes. We find powders. We find marijuana. We find all kinds of crazy crazy stuff that should have never, ever, ever been on Horse Plus property. So then we call up the sheriff. Now remember, it takes like an hour for them to come. And we say, okay, so this is what we have found. This is what we think. You know, both Jason and I grew up pretty sheltered when it comes to this type of thing. Like, we are pretty clueless, but we know what some of these things are, and we're like, this is not a good situation. So we call up the sheriff department. We say, this is what we think we have found. We need you to come get it. And they're like, okay, yep, we will be there. Oh, I just got an exciting update. Hold on here real quick. So, the sheriff department, we get them on the phone and we say, okay, this is what we have found. Okay, now I'm gonna update the thermometer. Okay, so now, you ready? Let's see. Well, okay, all right, so we were at 11,000. Now we are at 12,284.88. Wow, that is so exciting. Look at that. That is so amazing. That, like, wow. We were at 10,000 not very long ago, and we're pushing it right up. I think we're going to be at 20,000 here pretty soon. And this is awesome. Thank you guys. This is awesome. Okay, so let me get back to my story. So, hopefully that updates for y'all on YouTube. Okay, so where was I on this story? So, yes, we called the sheriff department. They said they were going to send somebody out to come get this drug stuff that we had found. So now we're waiting for the sheriff to come back, which is like an hour. And so we're like, well, this is going to take a little while. And we're waiting and we're waiting and we're waiting. And while we're waiting, and a lot happens here. So I'm trying to make sure like I'm getting all the details in. So I believe that the next thing that happened is that the volunteer brings the shelter manager back. And the first thing she wants to do is go upstairs. She says because the stable hand would write poems, and that if Jason and I read them, that we would laugh at him. And so she needed to go remove the poems from his room. Well, as soon as she starts heading up the stairs, I've told the other volunteer, I'm like, there's drugs in there and the police are coming to get them. And she's like, there's drugs up there. You cannot go up there. The police are coming to get them. So then the shelter manager slumps down on the stairs and says that she has no idea about any of this. She is so mortified and she just doesn't understand how any of this could have happened. So, then we're trying to figure out, like, basically the volunteer is like, yeah, I know. I see some of the comments. It's like, yeah, she knew more than what she was. Poems, yes. So, the volunteer is like, she has a brother that lives like 3 hours away or something like that. Why don't we see if the shelter manager can go to stay with her brother while all this gets sorted out? So, she, I think it's, the volunteer gets, her brother on the phone, and she's like, okay, so this is what's happening right now, and, she says the stable hand's name, stable hand guy, and I can hear the brother yelling on the phone. He's like, that guy has messed up her life, and he is just livid. And so he calms down, enough to talk to his sister, and they're sorting out her coming to stay with their family. And so the shelter manager is starting to pack some stuff up after the phone call. And of course, she's very, very distraught. She's had a very stressful day. And so the volunteer is like, I'm going to go feed and take care of the animals. And you can be with her while she's getting her stuff done. I'm like, okay, sounds great. So while the volunteer is out feeding the animals, she is she's noticing that all the horses are kind of looking over by the pond. And she's a very smart horse person. She's been around horses for a long time. Horses can tell you a lot. And she's like, you know what? I bet he's over by the pond. So she's out there all by herself. She starts heading over by the pond, and she sees him. And he comes out and he's like, hey, I need to talk to the shelter manager. And she's like, okay, I'll be back. I'll see what I can do. So then she came in and told me that she had seen him down here. I think she's told him that he needed to turn himself in, and all he wanted to do was talk to the shelter manager. And the shelter manager obviously cannot be there alone with him. And so we decide that maybe the shelter manager can convince, with the help of the volunteer, and this is not the volunteer that lives up the road, convince him to turn himself in, because like he doesn't need to be out there wandering around causing trouble. So I told the volunteer, I'm like, as long as you're with her and they're not alone, and you know, so she's not like, sure, I'll help you escape or something. You know, just if you go down there with her and tell her what needs to happen. And she told me that basically he was telling her that he wanted clothes, he wanted money, and he needed to run. And that's why he wanted to talk with the shelter manager. So I say, you know, it's fine. I don't need to be there. I trust the other volunteer to make sure that nothing crazy happens. So the shelter manager and the volunteer head over the hill to the pond, and I can hear screaming, and pretty soon they come back up, and it was a guy's voice yelling. It wasn't the ladies. And then they come up out of there, and the shelter manager is very, very distraught now. Like she has never told this man no in his life, is what I was told. Like and that was the first time she did, and he became irate. And so basically when she went down there, he demanded money from her. Like he wanted all the money she had. He wanted clothes, and he wanted cigarettes because he needed to run. And she told him no, and he lost it, and he took off, and now nobody knows where he's at. And so it was just a really, really bad situation, I felt like, because it caused more stress on the shelter manager, and he's taken off. And but even if we had called the police, he probably still wouldn't be hanging out at the pond an hour later, and the police were supposed to be coming to get the drugs and marijuana and whatnot in the house. So we're just a little lost and bewildered on what all is going on, what all we should do. And so when all that had happened, we brought the shelter manager back up to the apartment, the garage apartment, and she is trying to get stuff to go, but she's not doing well. Like she's not able to, she's more picking up stuff and setting it down, picking up stuff and setting it down. So finally, with the help of the other volunteer, we get her all ready to go, packed up, get her stuff in there. So she'll be gone for like a week or so, and the volunteer drives her away. So now Jason and I are still sitting there waiting for the police to come. Like it's dark. This is kind of right before Christmas. So like in the house, we're planning a Christmas party. Like I've got the Christmas tree up, and I'd gotten Christmas presents for all our staff and volunteers, and they're under the tree. And I had gone around and asked everybody what their favorite little items were. And so it had recently snowed, and then it kind of melted. So there's still snow under the trees. So there is some snow out there, but it's not like there's snow everywhere. And it's cold because it's winter. And, so we're like, where is this guy gonna be out there? And I'm thinking, like, more of a, if I was out there and it was cold, I would go out and get in one of the, like, the tack room with all the horse blankets, or the feed room, and camp down for the night. So that's what I'm thinking that he's probably going to do through the night. And then I'm also, let's see, so I think at this point we had to deal with the drugs. But at one point, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you this side of the story because it happened almost the same. So, one of our staff has a police scanner because he works in law enforcement side of things, and he was letting us know what was happening on the police scanner. And up the road, they got a call that there was a person that was causing an issue, and anyways, it ended up being the stable hand. And so the issue was that after he wasn't given any money or cigarettes or food, that he took off up to the volunteer who told us all the information about what was going on. And he is the one that broke the windshield in her truck. And now he is up there and he's at her gate and he's yelling at her that this is all her fault. And she called the police and they're on their way. But I'm pretty sure this happened. Yeah, so the drug, we had to deal with the drugs first. So fast forward or rewind just a little bit. So Jason and I are in the house, like shelter manager's on her way with the volunteer, and we still have all these drugs sitting there, wondering like what we're going to do. So we call up the sheriff department again, and we're like, what's going to happen with these drugs? And they're like, you know what, we can't send anyone else up to get them. But what we need you to do is just destroy them. And I'm like, okay. So they're like, yeah, just flush all the stuff you can down the toilet, break the pipes. And we're like, really? It's not anything that we were prepared or thinking that we would do. So there is another update to the thermometer there. So hold on one second. I'll be uploading that, and then we'll get back to what Jason and I had to do with the drugs because the sheriff department would not come up and deal with the drugs. I know it's evidence. It's totally evidence. But there is a lot that happens in law enforcement in rural areas where there's just not resources to handle as much craziness as they have to deal with. So, all right. Let me check and see where we're at. I also need to see, is there any donations coming in through $5? Oh, we got another donation through YouTube. Thank you so much. All right. That is, I'm not, euro, I guess. $23.99. Thank you so much. And then let me go back. Oh, you're in the UK. Okay. Similar to here. Okay, I think she's talking about law enforcement. All right, so I'm just getting PayPal's amount. And we had some more donations come in through PayPal. Thank you very much. If you're watching and you donated through PayPal, I see your donation or donations. And it sounds like Angela's on the phone helping somebody else with their donation. That is awesome. I think we have internet again, Wi-Fi. Okay, and then let me check one more, or let's see, there's one more I have to check. And hang on there, I will finish the story about Jason and I after we get off the phone when the police tell us just to destroy the drugs. Okay, payments. Just give me just a second here. I'm working. I can't tell you the story while I'm working, so hang on. Just give me a second. We're almost done, and then we'll get back to the story. Do let me know if you think the story is interesting. You can comment in the comments. Let's see. Hold on. Copy that. Paste. Yep. I've almost got it, y'all. Okay, maybe I don't almost have it. Hold on. Why is it being cranky? Oh, now Corey's doing adoption applications. You can hear a lot in the office. Why aren't you working? It was just working. Okay. Hold on. We will figure this out and then get back to the story. So, and again, where we're at in this story is maybe if I connected onto Wi-Fi on my laptop, it would be better. Oh, somebody says it's absolutely interesting. Good, good, good. I'm glad you're finding it interesting. It was crazy living through what we had to do in this situation. Come on, it's not wanting to connect to the internet. Come on, just connect in. Okay, let me connect back into my phone. We should make it work that way. I still have plenty of battery life on my phone, so that's good. And if you're just wondering what's happening, I'm doing an update to the thermometer. I try to do it about every 15 minutes. And we're right in the middle of the story. And basically, there was somebody that the police were after as a fugitive felon that ended up sneaking into our facility untruthfully about his history, and he was a felon on the run and a fugitive. So I'm trying to get the internet to work for me so I can get this uploaded. Thankfully, the live is going through a fiber internet directly plugged in, so that part is good. Payments. Click on payments. one of them is not helping out very well. Okay, one of the systems we're using. We're still getting the donations, it's just not being very cooperative about how it's giving us the data, but I think I got it now. Okay, almost done. Okay, almost. Hang in there. Okay. Alright, I know computer work is kind of boring when there's an amazing story, but it's a good time to donate. If you haven't donated yet with Giving Tuesday, donate during this time where I'm updating so you're not missing anything. Hold on. Okay. All right. One more second and we'll have the total here. And sorry, it's taking me just a minute, but we'll get back to the story. I hate to leave you all on your pins and needles, but this is the story. It just keeps getting crazier and crazier, I promise you. Okay, and then check my other one. It doesn't look like we've gotten any more stars. Okay, and then one more place to check. Thank you for those who are donating on Cash App. We had another Cash App donation come in. That's awesome. I'm checking Venmo. Okay. So on my last update, I counted a donation twice. So I was doing a little bit of auditing where we were at. So this is the new current donation where we're at. So it's actually going to fall back just a little bit, but that is because I miscalculated a donation. So, but we're still moving right along. So yay, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so I think somebody says I should write a book. Well, maybe one of these days. Okay, I'm just gonna refresh this. Make sure we're still rolling on the live. Okay, so we're at the point of the story where we called the police and they said that we are gonna have to just basically deal with the drugs. And oh, hold on, maybe I'll answer some questions. Where are we on this? So looks like a lot of okay. Hope Tony writes a book. I'm trying to catch up on this. Okay. Oh, somebody donated $100 in a currency. I'm not sure which currency that is. here. Okay. I just want to make sure I don't miss anything. And, okay. And then time for a book. Okay, what time is it? It's 3:40. And the Celia challenge is going good. Okay, I think I'm ready to roll again. I'm going to start the timer for 15 minutes. And we've got 15 minutes of this crazy story before the next update. So keep the donations coming in so we can keep raising it up. Really was hoping to hit the same amount of donations for Giving Tuesday as we did last year. Last year was amazing. Everyone that subscribes to our YouTube channel, if they donated just $1 each, we would have over $120,000. So I know it's possible for us to do this. No donation is too small. So back to the story. So we called the police and they told us to destroy the drugs. And so Jason and I are like, what on earth are we going to do? And like I said, we grew up not in any, like, just out in the mountains with our animals and like not dealing with any of this kind of crazy stuff. So we're like, well, I guess basically we smashed the drug pipes, those meth pipes, and then we just dumped everything else into the toilet, and then we tried to flush it. And we videoed ourselves doing this because I'm like, I don't want them to come back and be like, where is this stuff you said you had? Not that the law enforcement seemed to care. So we did not know this, but marijuana does not flush good down a toilet. And it took a lot of flushes to get all that marijuana down the toilet. It was very, very weird. And then he says that's dangerous stealing. Yeah, dangerous stealing, destroying drugs. Like, I don't know why. I get why, like, growing up in Northern California, like, there was one time, I don't know, there was these Indians and it was like the hippies went on a warpath. Like, you hear about the warpath the Indians did a long time ago, like, and there was gunshots going off all over at night, and law enforcement wouldn't come because they want to live. So there is places in rural areas where law enforcement just doesn't come. So I guess they figured they'd been out there enough, and they didn't come. So now we fast forward up to the poor volunteer who is got this fugitive felon ex stable hand of ours at the gate, and he's yelling at her that this is all her fault. And so in the police scanner that we're told about is that, I guess it would be the state marshals. I don't think it's the U.S. Marshals. State marshals are coming up now to try to get this guy. So they've found out that he is in the area, and they're going to send their crew after him and bring him in. So we're at the shelter, and we're getting these updates, and so over the scanner, what we find out is when they got there, they couldn't find him, but they started trailing him. And they followed him where they could see that he went up a tree. U.S. Marshals, thank you. They followed him up where he went up a tree, and they can see where he fell out of the tree from the snow, and they lost him out there somewhere. So far, we've had like 5 or 6 officers on the ground, plus a canine, a helicopter buzzing the shelter trying to find this guy with their officers up there, and then the marshals out trying to find him, and he evades them all. And so this is where Jason and I are like sitting at the shelter's house being like, so if we leave, like, he could just burn the whole place down. Like, we need to stay here. And we had family watching our kids, and we're like, we're basically just guarding the shelter and making sure like he doesn't cut any fences and let horses out or anything like that. And so somebody says, good luck, it seems slower than last year. Yes, the donations do seem to be slowly trickling in, but they are coming in. So I am very grateful. And this is the first time we've ever done a kind of marathon live video like this with a thermometer. But, you know, maybe there's somebody that's just waiting at the end of the day and they could top the whole thermometer off. We just don't know. But we will keep on trying. And every donation that comes in will add up and make a difference. And no donation is too small. So, back to the story. Jason and I aren't really sure what we're going to do other than we got to guard the place. So we decided that there was a couch in the living room area. And if he laid on one couch and I laid on the other, and our heads could kind of be together so we could whisper back and forth if anything was to happen, and that we should take shifts through the night. So I take the first shift, and Jason falls asleep very easily. Like if he lays down, he's asleep in no time at all. And so, no time at all, Jason's asleep, and I'm sitting, staring out the window, wondering what on earth is going to happen next, and how on earth did we end up in this situation, and how I should have never trusted the shelter manager to end up landing us in such a horrible situation. Because ultimately, it was a smooth running operation before she came. And I'm laying there and I'm staring out the window, just waiting for something to happen. Yes, trust but verify. Yes, you can trust people, but you have to make sure they're the right people to trust. So, as I'm staring out the window, I think I see some movement. And I'm like, wait a minute, I've been staring out this window for hours. I'm like, my brain could be playing tricks on me. So I'm watching very closely, and I do think I see some shadows moving across the front porch. So I wake up Jason. And so Jason wakes up, and I'm like, there's somebody out there on the porch. And so what we did is, oh wow, we just had I guess it's Swedish money. It's 500 in Swedish money. Thank you so much. It also says app $44, so that might be 44 American dollars. I'm not sure, but thank you so much. Let me just type this in. Thank you. Okay, wow, that's awesome. Thank you so much. And it's all getting added in. We'll add it in the thermometer here once the countdown timer comes down. So I'm staring out the window, and I wake up Jason, and I'm like, there's somebody out there. And the front porch, it was kind of a big front porch, and then it had like a fireplace that was, the rockwork went inside and outside of the house, and there was a piece of metal laying up against the outside of the fireplace on the porch. So, Jason and I really didn't know what to do, out there. I mean, if there's somebody there, like, we figure out what would happen. So we decided that we would both take our guns and ratchet them at the same time. And if you've ever heard guns, sliding like that can sound a little intimidating. So we did that to our guns, and as soon as we did that, we heard this crash bang, and the metal hit, like something banged into the metal, and then it was silent. So we're like, great. Like, that was probably him checking out the house to see if he could get in, and let's see. So we didn't have a shotgun. These are handguns. It's just answering a question in the comments. So so these are just little ratchet sounds. So somebody asked, you use guns? Yes. So the story I will tell you after this one is the reason you'll understand why I've carried a concealed gun for years because we run into a lot of very dangerous situations. And if you're in a situation, I feel like I don't know, I went through a police academy, and I met some people that would not be alive if they didn't. And through one of my um, concealed carry permits, there was a lady that would have been killed because her kidnappers killed the person before her because she didn't have a way to protect herself. So, anyways, whether or not you would ever own a gun would be one thing. I will say, if you are out on a horseback ride and you're 10 miles away from everything and your horse breaks its leg, the most kind thing you can do is to end that suffering, and carrying a gun would be a way to end that suffering of a horse with a broke up leg. So those are all things to think about. So we can still carry, have our guns there. We ratchet our guns, and we hear that running noise and banging into the metal. So now we're like, okay, so now he's gone, and now we're gonna sit here, and this is about midnight. So now we're like, okay, police officers are like an hour away, and they already don't want to come out. Like we tried to call them to get the drugs, and they didn't, and they had us destroy them. So you can't really count on law enforcement when you're in rural areas or areas that they don't like to be in. But it would be great if officers were seconds away and you didn't have to worry about that. That would be nice. So we are we're there at night, and it's like midnight, and we're like, okay, so if that was just him, he is not going to be curling up in any tack room with horse blankets anytime soon. So we decide to wait until about 2 o'clock. Oh, we got another $2 donation. Thank you. It's on YouTube. So we wait until it's like 2 or 3 in the morning, and then we go out and we walk through everything that we can at the shelter, and there is nothing. Everything is peaceful and quiet, and the horses are fine, and we're like, I wonder where this person is. Well, we find out later that after the marshals came and chased him around, and he fell out of the tree and hit the snow where they saw his imprint there, that there was more. Well, okay, so he was mad at the volunteer who gave us the information about, all these things that he had going on with him. So he went to her place, and she had a camp trailer on her property, and he first, I'm pretty sure, he did this at some point up there, but he took a knife and he slashed all of her truck tires. And if you remember back, the shelter manager had her sign a thing that the truck was fine. Anything that there's nothing that could happen to the truck or in the future happens to the truck that there would be anything liable. So he goes up and he slashes all 4 of her truck tires. They have been demolished now. And then he broke into her camp trailer and he spent the night there. And so we did not know this at the time. We found out later. So then the next morning, early, we're like, okay, so we don't know what's going on. We have family taking care of our kids, but we have animals at our house. So I leave Jason at the shelter. He's going to take care of all the animals there. I go home, take care of our animals. And then this was Saturday, and the shelter was closed. And so I decided I would come back up, and we would park the car in an area where it didn't look like there was anybody at the shelter, because we're like, he's probably not going to come and then we can't call the police if he doesn't come. And we need. Oh, somebody just donated $19.99. Thank you so much. Um, so, oh, I wrote that in the wrong spot. Okay, so, basically, the police are an hour away. It's going to take forever for them to come, but we're like, if he sees that everyone's here, he's just going to come back, and, there's a chance we might be able to get him to turn himself in. And so, I go take care of my animals, and Jason's taking care of the shelter animals. They come back. I park the car in one of the barns so you can't see it. And then we go in the house and we wait because there's nothing else to do other than wait. And then Jason was very tired because we were up a lot the night before, so he falls asleep, and I am up watching and watching and watching. And about 2 o'clock that afternoon, there was a goose in the backyard of the apartment, so we're the shelter manager's apartment. And the goose was kind of going off a little bit. And I am upstairs in the house with Jason's also upstairs in one of the bedrooms there that was unoccupied. And I'm trying to look down and see what the goose is squawking about. So I crawl up on top of the toilet, and I'm looking out the little bathroom window, and I see a rock get thrown at the goose. And I'm like, well, there's nobody here that throws rocks, so it must be the stable hand guy. So we decided that we would go down and try to get him to turn himself over. And we're like, why? Let's see. We'll have our cordless phone there. We can call 911. And we stepped out of the house, and he was gone, nowhere to be found. And we're like, he was just here, because like we saw him, like he was in the backyard. Then he came out to the front yard, and there was like this little old pickup that could never go anywhere. It was like a ranch pickup, a little tiny truck, and he was at that truck, and then he was gone, and there was nowhere to be found. Now, one of the volunteers lived up the road. One of her dogs was at the shelter too, running around. So we're like, he's here with that dog. And so we walked the whole parking lot area. Like, he is gone. He is nowhere to be found. And then we walk all the way back around the house in the backyard. He's not there. We check the side garage, and he's not there. Like the apartment backyard, he's not there. And then Jason and I are like, great, what if he's in the house? What if, while we were out here trying to see if he is anywhere, what if he is now in the house and we're out here, but we have no way of knowing? And the police are like an hour away, and if we call him up and like, hey, we think he might be here, they're going to be like, okay, yeah, let us know if you actually see him. So we don't know exactly what we're going to do. But I noticed that the dog that belongs to the volunteer up the street is kind of looking into the back garage apartment yard. And I'm like, he's probably gone into the garage apartment, maybe? I'm like, I don't know. He's gone. So we're like, okay, we're going to have to sweep out the house. Now, if you've ever seen like a TV show where they sweep out the house, or Cops or something. So one thing a lot of people don't realize is Jason and I actually took a large portion of Police Academy. Like we learned baton training, laws of arrest, how to handcuff people. We got pepper sprayed in the face. It's a terrible experience getting pepper sprayed in the face. We went through all this training as part of humane officer training. And so part of that training was firearms training. And they trained us how to sweep out a house and all of these things. And so we're like, we've been trained how to sweep a house and make sure it's good. And, you stand, as you go in and make sure nobody's behind you, nobody's in front of you. So we proceeded to do that. Now we have our guns drawn at this point because we're not going to put ourselves in a situation where somebody could attack us with another gun. So we are going into this house in a very tense situation. We don't know if he's there. We could walk through the whole house and he isn't there at all. Or we find him. And it gets very scary. Okay, so hold on one second. I'm going to answer some of these. Okay, so there's some folks online that don't agree with having guns, and that's totally your right. But like I said, if I'm on a horseback ride way out in the woods and a horse breaks its leg and you can't get a vet there and there's no way to put that animal down humanely, having a gun with you is a good thing. So we're getting ready to go into the house, and we're there, and we are going off our law enforcement training that we've had, and we're sweeping out the house, and there's nobody upstairs. There's nobody in the downstairs, the kitchen, like it's all fine. So then we're gonna go into the garage apartment, and I'm going to pause here because it is time to update the thermometer again. I know you're probably all like, no, don't do it. But it is time. So hold on here. We're going to get this. And now is a great time to make a donation, go to the bathroom, whatever you all need to do, and then come back and hear the rest of the story. So let me just refresh these accounts and see if we've gotten any more donations. Okay, and I did say at 5 o'clock I would say how much money was raised through the Facebook donations, the stars that come in. So we're an hour out, so do send in those Facebook stars. Let me see, log in. Okay, somebody says they'll donate when they stop driving. Can't wait to hear the end. Yeah, this story is. I feel like we need to like reenact it somehow, where people can see what it was like. But okay, so just checking our accounts, checking PayPal now. All right. We did get some more donations through PayPal. Thank you all very much if you donated through PayPal. I've just added your